You were touching on Christianity there. You were also touching on the universe, energy.
Yeah.
And one might be like, kahle kahle, where are you? Like, kwakuningi,
Yeah.
Miss Universe, umzalwane, what is it? Because I think in as much as some people might not own up and say that they subscribe to a particular religion or belief, but I believe everything that we do in life is guided by something that we hold on to, whether it's tangible or religious, or whether we speak of it or not, but khona into that esibambelele kuyo, or that drives us. And what is that for you? How would you define it? Or is it something that you feel like it's multiple things and you wouldn't want to box it to one particular thing?
Yeah.
And if it is even Christianity, what type of Christianity is this thing? Because the girls are here sipping mimosas. Like, what do you subscribe to?
Jeez, that's a tough one because it's that. So I was raised Christian, right? So I think this one it's a matter of circumstance. It's a matter of upbringing and where, because if we were speaking, we're having this conversation with someone in Afghanistan and they were maybe saying the same things that I am, but they would relate it to their, with the religion or whatever the case is. So based on my circumstance, it's Christianity, and I'm so grateful for that faith because I believe it's like it tapped open, the reservoir of like spirituality. I'm not a big fan of religion. I believe religion is important because it does give us, it's humanity's way of trying to understand the bigger picture. But I mean, it's crazy to think that all of this and the universe and creation can be just in one specific book, because then you literally just go to a different country and they've never heard of it.
True.
So is that to say God is not aware of those people and for other people with this thing? But man, God, the universe, and that which feels bigger than we are, the thing where, and it doesn't matter what you believe in, but those moments in life where you're like, hey, something else, man, tapped here, something else aided me here, something else, whether it's your subconscious or whatever. But my biggest belief system is that I'm not alone. I'm not doing life on my own. The thing that created me is walking hand in hand with me. And so I throw tantrums easily in my spiritual place where I'm like, Haibo, Nina Ningletela, and now all of a sudden I don't understand what's happened. Fix this thing. I feel like I can also have that dialogue, because so I remember watching For Colored Girls, and at the end of the movie this lady says, I found God in myself and I loved her. I loved her fiercely. That was the first time I'd heard God being spoken of in the pronoun of a female, right? And she. And I was super religious at the time, but man, I connected so hard with that. And then I started wanting, and then I was like, no, if I'm made in God's image, Erika Badu says that if we are made in His image, then call us by our names.
Yeah.
I am that which, so I am in partnership with God because I am God and because I come from God, and we are creating this life thing together. And I when we speak of the Bible, I believe that you could have your own book of Utobega. I could have my own, just as Paul did, because all these people were doing was just documenting their personal experience with the higher being and their personal, not even, and then over time when Jesus came, and that's what Jesus was doing as well. Jesus says, which is a thing that Christians don't want to talk about a lot, but Jesus says, have I not told you, have you not heard? Ye too are gods, all these things and more shall you do. You know, he wasn't on some he was trying, I believe, to make us understand what happens when man realizes that they're not separate.
And they tap in. I mean, he even says, I do as the Father says, meaning he's tapped into a particular level of communion and fellowship with God and and everything else, and that all he's doing is he's in tune with that. He moves with that, and the rest just gets written along the way as he remains one.
And Paul says the same thing. See, not because I've taken hold of it all. So it's so it's this understanding that Jesus does this amazing thing with all his miracles where he doesn't ask, right? He says thank you. So he says, and then he says, ngiyakhuleka, hayi ngoba ngazi ngibazi ukuthi you're gonna do this, but for their benefit, so that they may know that you are God. But thank you that this has already been done, because the relationship was so in sync. It was a part of him. And you know, it's that, you know, and that's why he'd say God and I are one. And that's what got the people angry at the time, because they were like, how dare you liken yourself? But you're made of the same stuff. So you wanna say God made us in his image, but you also wanna separate yourself. It's accountability, I believe, because once you then say that truth, then you need to understand that everything that happens in your life, whether good or bad, which is why I was saying about the job thing, is you are present, you are actively participating in what is happening in your life, and we don't want that. We want to believe what is ours is to pray, silinde, avume,
that's why it's khulume ngamabhadi, answered prayers and unanswered prayers, because it gives us an excuse to say versus saying, do you know what, in as much as I may say that I've lost a job, but the energy Vele was rejecting this job. My action and I, even in my words, was rejecting it.
You created it, right? You created it into being. You got yourself into that job. You have to take accountability. You must take accountability for the good and the bad.
True.
You created that job. You put yourself in that place. Because otherwise you wouldn't have gotten it. And you met it, right? And it met you. And then at some point you felt like it stopped serving, or whatever the reason was that you were complaining, and then you wanted to uncreate that, and then you did it. So you can do it again. It's like that's what happens. It may sound like I'm simplifying it, and obviously this is, and I will say, for me, this is a huge gamble having this conversation with you, because you know that I don't like to be overly open about this, because it's so specific, but also people go really hard on defense because they're like, oh, so you know. And I always make this example of like how we create based on what we know now. So I make the example of like ukula, and then you're like, based on what you're paid, because what you create for yourself will affect Anati. It's not her fault, but it's based on how big you dream will affect your kids. So then until such a time they realize, okay, I can start creating my own Nami, you know, so they can't blame you forever. But you're growing up, you live in a shack, and you're like, oh, I just wanted two room, because you're looking at it based on the shack, and it's such a terrible thing. Uturum seems huge based on, you know, and we know and we see in part, right? So you look at that, and then later on however many years later, government runs ama RDP houses. You get that. But then you realize no one rates RDP houses. People think RDP house now so you complain food. And it will be very hard for you to go back to your memory bank and say, but at some point,
this is what I wanted.
At some point you created this.
I spoke it.
You spoke it into being. But siyakhohlwa. And you really, and I always try when bad things, and I say bad things in because I don't believe in such, but when that happens and I say, hey, at some point, at what point in my life might have I created this moment into being? Obviously other things are bigger, so there it's our unified, energies and our thought processes. That's why the Bible speaks of when two or more are gathered, because there's power in numbers.
Yes.
So masibaning we can create, which is why.
But still, it's us.
Still, it's us. We always want to remove ourselves from that, though. Give it to the devil. As long as it's not you, you're fine. But that makes life harder for you because you're running away from your shadow.
True. Which reminds me, this one Baba Shumaela once said, akekho umuntu ovelela njengoSathane. Ngoba uyablame, asukele nje, uhambe uyoyiqalela into yakho, uyifake enkingeni, uSathane.
And you're lying. You're lying. You wanted that thing, and it felt like it would serve you in that moment. But then when you see the consequences, and there's no, I really believe there's no punishment. There's just consequences. There's a result of what is done. Ufaga usawo temanzini, it's gonna be sour. Ufaga ushugela, it's gonna be sweet. Neither is bad or good. It's just a result of what's occurred, But then we want to create and then disown our creations when we don't like the outcome, and that makes us unaccountable.
I think, not to cut you, but I think that's one of the hardest things about people subscribing to spirituality, and they would rather hold on to religion because in religion then they want to do the tick box by rules, by regulation, and take it literally, so that if this fails, I feel like I have not tried to depart and do my own thing. It is and it's interesting. I know probably even some people watching this would be like, but it's fine. The beauty of life, and which is one of the things I really, really want us to explore in this channel, is that there's so many facets of it. Even in this one day, what we're talking about, you could look back and feel like, there was so much more I was unaware of, and now I'm more aware of it. And I think looking at life like that will always help you to remain open to receiving new knowledge.
You're never done.
You will never be done. And in never being done, also, you will always feel like no matter how bad or what circumstances look like, there's still opportunity for something to be born and something else to happen. So thank you for having this conversation. I know we could go on for hours and hours and maybe just if you're asking, how did I get to know Smo? How did we know each other? How did we become friends? How long have we been friends? Do you want to share? Should I share?
I have no idea how long we've been friends, so you should.
The only thing I remember though is that when I first saw you, I gave you attitude.
You did.
Because guys, because guys, also I really become tense when I'm around people in Abajale in unfamiliar spaces, and it takes me time to warm up to people, and I'm unlikely to be the one that tries to make conversation or to like let her guard down. And unfortunately I met Umuntu Nai who was similar to me,
the same.
so she was just like there and I was there, but now here we are, we found ourselves having to live together because of my cousin who was your friend. And I'm guessing, I think as life happened living there in Montclair, I think it started out in 2015?
Yes.
2014.
2014.
No, 2014. No, 2015. 2015, I remember definitely it was 2015.
Yeah, I think it was because that's when I started school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow I think we began to obviously realize certain things about each other when you live together, and I think the guard started being let down. But I really think we got an opportunity to be with each other once everybody left, because at some point we were like maybe 10 or whatever,
too many people,
and then eventually it was like you, me, and it was Paul, and at some point it was just you and me, and I think that was when we really got to feel like there's a friendship that has been built here over time, but possibly we invested more energy into it and appreciated and nurtured it more once from maybe say 2017, 2016. And so that's how we know each other. And that's just how it is. So the one last thing that I want us to talk about before we log off is, so is there something maybe you want to say to me? This is my second video on my channel. Want to say just wish me luck into my channel, or Jay, uthini kumina, say something, girl.
Jeez Louise, I mean, it's a lot. No, I think you'll be fine. Honestly, that's where we need to start off. You are fine, and you will be fine, and you'll continue to be fine. But also, you're extraordinary. So that means that your path will be a little bit different. That means, because then when you tell your story, it must be distinct. So you have to then trust the process, but you have to trust the thing that's in you, the voice that you have and what you have to offer to the world. And the fact that you've started this is so good, because it means you've tapped into that. And then just trust Guti, it'll lead you. But also, don't detach from the process in saying, Guti, okay, God, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Also, be deliberate in your life as well, and say, okay, what is it that I'd like? Because life also listens to our dreams as well, when you want something, the whole universe conspires to make it happen.
I want a man. I'm joking. I'm joking, guys.
Yeah. So when you try to involve other humans, it's a whole disaster. Because now they must want the same thing.
Yeah.
So now again. When you start talking about other, I mean, itself.
No. That was a joke.
But,
back to your point.
If you trust blindly, like against all odds and against all, Ilana speaks about peace that surpasses understanding. So that means in this moment now, where you don't really know what's going to be happening or where you're going to go, but just have that peace. And where does that peace come from? It comes from your own experience of life, of everywhere else where God has carried you. Every single place where you didn't know what was going to happen and you were depressed and and it came together for the good, So there's no cut off. It's not like you've expired. Your goodness reservoir, and I think Ulona, who speaks about goodness, experiencing the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living here. So ingcebo yethu ayikho ngale, bathi that I may see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, and just that, and let that be your prayer, and also just the prayer be for peace, that whatever it is that comes and finds you, may you be ushered into it with peace, and may you be open to learn, and may you be open to discover different parts of yourself. You don't have to remain what you've always known. So the path might be completely different, but as long as God is on the path, you're fine. There's really nothing wrong. So I I live off by that, and I think everything that I've ever shared with you has not been to say that you won't have detours in your life, or bad things won't happen, or your life will always look as it is. It's always just been to say, God's positioning doesn't change. Don't change yours.
True.
Don't change your faith.
True.
Don't change your belief. Hlala, you know, kulelo themba lelo ukuthi God's got you. God's got you. Uje uma ube ulowo muntu lokuthi hey nakho hey ingabe kuyobanjani ingabe, but at no point are you thinking, yeah, we might be this. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen to you. So hold fast onto that.
Guys, I release the same energy.
Definitely.
Back to you. I know that somebody listening to this will listen to it at the right time, where they need to hear it, and it will resonate with them. And you can share your comments down below. If you also want us to continue on another topic, might not be with Swo because she stays in Joburg, I'm in Durban, but let's talk. Let's co-create. Let's learn and unlearn together. And so my parting words, as I ask some of you who are watching but haven't subscribed to subscribe, is that just as the word says, where uNkulunkulu had finished creating umhlaba and gave orders, what he subdue the earth. And I want to say to you, subdue the earth, meaning whatever it takes, whatever space you're in, dominate it in terms of how much you give to it, and how much you expect from it in return. And there's nothing wrong with going back to modify what you were saying, like we were talking earlier. Go back to one more and go back to give more, but subdue it and conquer it, and it will respond to you in the same manner. So thank you Swo, for having this talk with me. So excited about it, and I'm happy that I could have you. Yeah, guys, you can follow Swo on where? You interested in followers? No, not your thing.
No, I mean, you'll find me. if you really need me, you'll find me.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.